Testing, testing.
And I, I limited out, I personally limited out in the first hour, not even.
I heard the bite, the last 2 days have been just ridiculous. It was terrible this past weekend. I fished a tournament. I caught, I limited out in the first 20 minutes between 6 and 6:20, and I caught one fish for the rest of the 6 hours after that. And I just couldn't get a bite. In the same spot, I'm like, I know they're here, they just won't bite, they won't bite. And I finished second in the tournament the week before at the same spot. I'm like, I know they're here. They're all good fish. Like every one you catch is a keeper.
We got, my dad was with me, we got six. And my sixth one was 24 inches, so it was a pretty good sized fish. So it was a good night, we were only out there for 2.5 hours or something after work, so it was
I
good.
heard I saw the reports and my friends are telling me, they're like, yeah, the bite's been crazy. Is the water nice and clean?
No, it wasn't dirty, like seaweed dirty. And we were also moving very nicely with the current, with the wind, so, it was, but it was a little, what's that called? Torpid, whatever it is, it was a little muddy.
Okay.
I was thinking about that when I was out there. I was thinking about that word. I think the word is Turpid. No.
Yeah,
Oh, wait, turgid.
I lost to Calcutta in the tournament. I had five. My biggest fish was 464, and I got beat by 467.
But what first place was the top two fish?
That was the Calcutta.
Oh, that was Calcutta.
So the Calcutta was $900. So I won. I ended up winning second. I beat the guy that had the bigger fish than me. He only had one fish.
Oh, that's what I was going to say. You were
So
saying.
we had 6 keepers and throwing back keepers. I ended up with almost 11 pounds for 3 fish.
Three fish,
Three-
11
it's a
pounds?
three-fish
Yeah, that's,
day.
oh, that's cool. How long was the 4.6 one?
4.6. I think it was 24, 23 and a half.
Because I was thinking mine last night was like a 4.5.
But it was one of those ones where you're trying to stick your hand around it, and it's so thick that you can barely get your hand around it.
Yeah.
So it was really good tournament fish, like really fat fish.
All I had was spearing and gulp. What?
Okay, guys. The planning board is now in session in compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act of 1975. Adequate notice this meeting has been provided. Should any member of this board have reason to believe this meeting is being held in violation of that act, they shall so state at this time. Hearing none, we will start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Mr. Becerra,
Here.
Mr. Jones,
Here.
Mr. Riggs,
Here.
Mr. Crowley,
Here.
Mr. Gorgone,
Here.
Mayor Mullick,
Here.
Deputy Mayor McDade. Here. Mrs. Reed,
Here.
Mr. Lundholm,
Here.
Mr. Produces.
Here.
Mr. Crippen.
Okay, we have minutes of May 27th for adoption. Motion? So moved.
Motion by Mr. Gorgone, seconded by Mr. Produces. Mr. Gorgone,
Yes.
Mayor Mullick,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor McDade,
Yes.
Mrs. Reed,
Yes.
Mr. Crowley, Mr. Lundholm,
Yes.
Mr. Riggs,
Yes.
Mr. Jones,
Abstain.
Mr. Becerra.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, and we have resolutions. First one is 1842 Investments, Kate May LLC, 409 Elmira Street, Block 1060, Lot 33. Motion to approve the resolution?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Was that Mrs. Reed who seconded? Mr. Crowley? Mrs. Reed, thank you. Motion by Deputy Mayor McDade, seconded by Mrs. Reed. Mr. Gorgone?
Yes.
Mayor Mullick?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor McDade?
Yes.
Mrs. Reed?
Yes.
Mr. Crowley? Mr. Lundholm?
Yes.
Mr. Riggs?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Becerra?
Yes.
Thank you.
Resolution 0624-2000-252, Addis, Inc., 1317 Beach Avenue, Block 1146, lots 6 through 24. Motion for adoption?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Deputy Mayor McDade motions. Mr. Riggs seconds. Mr. Gorgone?
Yes.
Mayor Mullick?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor McDade?
Yes.
Mrs. Reed?
Yes.
Mr. Crowley? Mr. Lundholm?
Yes.
Mr. Riggs?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Becerra?
Yes.
Thank you.
We have Addis, Inc., 1317 Beach Avenue, Block 1146, lots 6 through 24. Motion to approve that? Since we just did.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Deputy Mayor McDade motions. Mr. Riggs seconds. Mr. Gorgone?
Yes. Yes.
Thank you. Mayor Mullick?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor McDade?
Yes.
Mrs. Reed?
Yes.
Mr. Crowley? Mr. Lundholm?
Yes.
Mr. Riggs?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Becerra?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, there's a couple things on this agenda that were kind of a result of that meeting we had with the site plan requirement for the quad in the R4 zone a couple meetings ago. There was a group of people that got together from the zoning board, planning board, zoning office, city manager. I don't think you were there, Zach. Were you there?
No.
So we cobbled together some things which seem fairly simple. I don't know if everybody's had a chance to look at these or not, but there's not a lot of depth to them. It just basically says what we wanted it to say from that last meeting. So does anybody have any questions on any of these? First of all, what we're doing is saying they're consistent with the master plan. They can be sent to the council and the council can adopt them.
And the council had a first reading on these.
Okay.
Yep.
Now, we could take them all together if everybody's fine with that. Good? Okay, so we've got, there's no number on this, so did we assign a number, Rich?
The ordinance gets assigned by the clerk. Yeah.
Okay, all right, okay. So it's number 4, number 5, and number 6. in the resolution list that all deal with the Village Green R4 zoning.
Number,
six.
number 6 is
I'm sorry,
the
number
fair
5,
share.
4 and 5, sorry.
4 and 5, yeah. Yes, yeah. And we had an opportunity to briefly discuss these at the tail end of the last meeting before we
I
adjourned.
don't think we even brought them up.
It was the meeting on the Jetty Motel bill. You weren't
Okay.
here, yeah. And then the first reading was introduced to council at the last meeting,
Okay.
so.
All right, so we get a motion to adopt those two?
Make the motion.
Justin?
I'll second.
Bob?
Okay, Mr. Riggs motions, Mr. Gorgon seconds. Mr. Gorgon?
Yes.
Mayor Mullick?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor McDade?
Yes.
Mrs. Reed?
Yes.
Mr. Crowley?
Yes.
Mr. Lundholm?
Yes.
Mr. Riggs?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Bezare?
Yes. So the next two are, I think I'll let Craig,
So the next two you shouldn't handle until I present what I have to do in the discussion part.
okay, okay. Then we'll jump into that.
So, okay, you ready? Okay, so let me introduce you to the Housing Element and Fair Share Plan dated June 4th, 2025. So what we're considering here tonight is adoption of that and recommendation to the governing body that's consistent with our master plan goals and objectives. It establishes an element that's required of your master plan. It sets forth the affordable housing requirements and how the town deals with that. And it also provides the housing element data, which is essential for you to provide your zoning decisions on. So that's updated. We use the US Census data. The most recent stuff is census was done in 2020. There was also some census information done in 2023, so we use the best available data with regards to that. And I'd like to just start with the housing element summary and just highlight some of the interesting points that I found that I think that are of interest to the board. So the housing element is an inventory of the housing stock, the conditions of the housing, the value type, and the number of affordable units. It's also an analysis of the city's demographics that deal with household size, income level, age, et cetera, and employment characteristics within the city. So notable highlights of that. There was, as the city and our master plan acknowledge, there has been a population loss. And when I say population loss, that's permanent residence, is how they, when the census takes their data, it's where is your permanent residence. So in this case, over the last 10 years, we have lost, 10 years ago, our population was 3,607. It's now down to 2,768 in 2020. That is a downward trend of 23.3%. That actually has accelerated over the last, so our 10-year groupings, that has been an acceleration of population loss. We are an older population. Typically, we're consistent with the county, but Cape May County is generally an older population when you compare to the state characteristics, but 22.2% of the population, the permanent population in Cape May is over 65. Our number of housing units within the city has remained fairly consistent. We're at 4,157 units. It's remained fairly consistent because we don't have any vacant land. We don't have big housing projects coming online. It's just not there. So, and I'll explain the vacant land in another portion, but typically we're not seeing large-scale housing developments in Cape May. Once again, our occupied housing rates, 33.2% of the total units are considered occupied. And by occupied, that's a permanent resident. 2,775 are vacant or are seasonal units. So it's a third are occupied, 2/3 are not occupied. So that's kind of the composition of our housing stock. As we're well aware, the housing values are very expensive in Cape May. 98.3% are valued more than $300,000. The median home value increased in the last 10 years from $700,000, and that's in 2010, it's actually last 13 years, I'm sorry, and in 2023, the most recent data, the median home value is $879,000. Our housing stock is old, but I don't think that's of any worry because of the historic nature of our town. That's a good thing in Cape May when we have an older housing stock and we're preserving those houses. Our employment and labor characteristics are not really unique, and they reflect both the county and state numbers where we fall in line with those. Our number of families below the poverty line is actually less than the state and county averages. We're 77.5%, where the state average is 9.7%. So that's a good thing. That's really the highlights that I found for the housing element. There's a lot of data in there. You can glean through those numbers. But I thought that those were the biggest highlights or changes that we've seen over the last 10 years. And if there's any questions, I'll dive into that before we get into the fair share plan.
The one surprising number to me was the median rents.
I'm sorry?
The median rents.
That seems surprisingly low to me.
Yeah.
That's the best census data that we had. The numbers did look low to me.
Because if anybody finds $1,000 a month house in Cape May,
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
people would jump at that.
Yeah.
And that being the median to me is crazy.
And you know
I was
what?
surprised.
The other numbers,
Yeah.
some sadly, some gladly
Right.
made sense, but this one I thought was odd.
It doesn't even make sense in an investment market as we are.
Could that be,
The,
the rent in the Osborne Court and Broad Street?
That probably certainly helps that number, but I can't imagine with all the rentals that we have that number,
That's only about 85
That's-
units.
Is this year-round, year-round or vacation?
That's what I'm asking, yeah.
They don't distinguish, I don't think. Yeah.
it's normally an average of a year-round rental. It's
Year-round.
your year-round rental, yeah.
Yeah.
You
No,
can't,
but what I'm saying is, if they're asking someone, I don't know how that gets reported. Like, if they ask someone, how much rent do you collect on your place a year? You know, when I used to rent my place out, my answer might be $14,000. But it's only rented for 6 weeks, you know, so like, or 8 weeks or something. So
Although if you look at
divide
Victorian
that number.
Towers, though, you
What's
know,
that?
you have a lot of units in, for instance, Victorian Towers, and they're all rental, right?
Mm-hmm.
To me, excuse me, that would drive the number down.
if this is strictly year-round rentals and not
Well,
vacation.
Victorian Towers.
That's
it
where
could
I'm
be
thinking,
Victorian Towers.
that's where I was thinking that the numbers could be skewed, is if they're only counting full-time residents that are renting. And if that's the case, your summer rentals are going out the window, and then there aren't that many full-time rentals in.
Yeah, I mean, how many units are in Victorian Towers? 250, 275? Is there that many?
It's up there.
Okay, so when you add another 85 at the housing, I mean, you're still talking about 10% of
And then
the overall.
you have the courts, you know, Broad Street Court and.
No, I
Are
know,
they
that's
rental?
only 85, yeah, but that's
Those
only
are
about
rentals
85
also?
units, yeah. So you're still talking only 10% of the actual inventory. Just, it does seem very surprising.
But maybe that's 50% of the
Of the
year-round.
Of the
Full
year-round,
unit.
yeah, yeah.
50% of the full-time rentals. would be
Yeah.
Just those two locations. And that would skew it way down, especially if they're not counting summer rentals.
Right.
So one-third the population is year-round? Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, 1/3 of your housing units
And
are,
that is how much then? What was the?
your number, your
2,700.
population based on the 2020 number is 2,768
So a third of that
full-time
is
residents. Yeah.
I'd be curious.
and that census was done pretty much in the middle of COVID, correct?
2020.
In 2020. So be curious to see what the new census brings.
Yeah,
for-
there was some 2023 data that kind of verified it, so I didn't think it was, those numbers didn't look skewed to me
Right.
because of the 2020, and I did look, when I looked at this stuff, I did consider, all right, we were in the COVID period, you know, how did that skew anything, but I think the 2023 reflected a better data set, at least I'm hoping, and they weren't that far off the 2020 numbers.
Okay.
There's an interesting, if you look at table 14 on page 19, we identify home values over $1 million. There's 0.
Owner occupied.
Yeah, owner occupied.
That's my point. Nobody's living in the McMansions.
Actually, since COVID, a lot more people are. This is right before COVID. There's
Yeah.
A lot of people that have moved down here since.
2023.
It's a shame how much, I mean, it changed right after the census, you know.
Yeah, I know a lot of people who moved down here since COVID.
I know you're saying that, but this is data from
Well, who knows where they got this from, Dennis?
the Census Bureau.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, that's, like I said,
That one's suspect.
there's data in here that you may find inaccurate, but it's the best available data that we have. There's reference to our population trend in here, and the only available study that's ever been done for Cape May County is the South Jersey Transportation Authority's study, which forecasted an increase in population, which has never occurred in Cape May. So I kind of threw that data set out, but, I kept it in there because it's the only available, but I did put a caveat in there that it's not consistent with the trends that we're seeing.
And the other question I had about the population was, in this 2020 census, there was a bit of a confusion because in one section, they counted residents, they counted the Coast Guard base recruit classes as residents. And in other sections of the census, they did not count that. So is this population number that we have here, does that include the Coast Guard or not?
There was no data, like clarifier showing whether they were counted or not.
So I'll send this, I'll
But-
send it to you, I'll show you the,
But they're talking about your permanent residence, so unless they've established permanent residency there, they shouldn't be counted.
they shouldn't be counted, but they are in one section of the census.
Okay.
I'll send it to you.
You can chase your tail on this data a long time if you want to.
Yeah, you could, but since it's supposed to be the basis of the policy, maybe we should chase our tails.
Well, I don't look at the specific numbers, but I look at the trends. And I think our trend is we're losing permanent residences, and and not only have we lost them, and you can look at I think I put the last 5 or 4 10-year data sets in there. It's been consistent losses, and this last 10 has been an acceleration of those losses, so.
We also, by the way, just as an aside, we're showing in 2020 the same population as Cape May showed in 1900.
Interesting. Are there any other questions? Okay. So,
Mr. Chairman,
yes.
can I just raise
Talk about vacant land now?
Appeal.
You can talk about vacant
this
land.
member said something to me which was very insulting.
I don't think you're going to get an apology.
He said, do I remember that number?
Can you put your mic on, please, somebody? Oh, it wasn't?
yeah, I didn't want to hear that.
Yeah, it's not Republicans.
All right, moving on.
Yes.
Okay, now I'm going to talk about the fair share portion of this. So we're dealing with our 4th round. We're trying to address the 4th round numbers, which takes us from 2025 to 2035, the next 10-year period from this year moving forward. So in 2024, there was New Jersey state legislation changed the rules, the methodologies and calculations and the timing of all of this. So we're dealing with a whole new framework that we did from the previous round. And they established our numbers, and Cape May accepted the new numbers from the state in its binding resolution adopted by council on January 23rd, 2025. So those numbers are based on a Department of Community Affairs report. They gave us a rehab number of 46 and a 4th round number of 48. So we have to address those numbers in our plan. All of Cape May's affordable housing numbers moving forward since Cape May City accepted the new fourth round numbers, assuming they are not challenged, are, and they're located on page 33 of that report. I'll just highlight those. We have a rehab obligation of, which is also titled Our Present Need of 46. We have a prior round obligation, which was from 1987 to 1999 of 58. Our prior round realistic development potential, our RDP, is 0. And that's because we prepared a vacant land analysis during the prior round. And a vacant land analysis is an analysis of all of the vacant land within the city and evaluate it to see if any affordable units can be produced. And the way this is evaluated is it has to meet a certain lot size, it can't be environmentally constrained, it has to have proper sewer and water in front of it, and based on that criteria alone, we do have tracts that are larger than half an acre, but they're all environmentally constrained. So we don't have any large development tracts. East Cape May has been addressed. That was a concern during the prior round, and we did have some language in our prior plan that addressed and set aside. If that was ever developed, we would have a 20% set aside for that. But now that that has been acquired and that lawsuit has been addressed, it's now environmentally sensitive land and will never be improved or developed. So our RDP for that was 0. Our third round obligation, which was the period from 1999 to 2025, is 212 units. Our third round realistic development potential, our RDP, was 12 units. And those 12 units happened because developers of a couple of large subdivisions or large developments got in before the requirement took effect within the city. So they kind of beat a deadline, and the city was still held accountable for those units. So that RDP is 12. The fourth round prospective need, which is our 2025 number that the state gave us, is 48. So that's the prospective need. The fourth round realistic development potential, our RDP is 0. So within this document, we prepared an updated vacant land analysis. So every time you get a new round, you have to prepare that vacant land analysis. We have to look at what properties were acquired, if there's any redevelopment, et cetera. Same thing as the prior round. We have 0 realistic opportunities for development of large tract that would provide inclusionary or the 20% set aside. So once you total up those, they call that the combined prior, third, and fourth round unmet need, and our number is 306. Now, the next section on page 34 is how we address those numbers. So addressing the rehab present need obligation, there's 46. So 46 existing units will have to be rehabilitated in the city by 2035, and the city intends to address this obligation by continuing to participate in the Cape May County Rehabilitation Program. The next, addressing the prior round obligation, this is our 1987 to 1999 58. The vacant land analysis addresses that. And that was approved by the court, and that gave us an RDP of 0, so there was no RDP to satisfy in the prior round. Addressing the third round obligation, which is our 1999 to 2025 period, the 212. In the third round, that vacant land adjustment was completed, and it calculated the city's third round realistic development potential to be 12, which left the remaining third round unmet need of 200. So in this case, we have to address that third round RDP of 12, and these were the 12 units that escaped from those developments. And I'm trying to remember the developments. I think the
Osprey Landing, maybe?
Yeah, Osprey Landing, the Pella subdivision, and the 10-unit development on Washington Street.
There's the
Yep, so those were the three, and so they drove those, so we were required to provide 12 units for those. So, those 12 units are going to be addressed by the accessory apartment program. So we already have an accessory apartment program as part of our zoning code. It's already permitted, so we will continue to rely on that accessory apartment program to address those 6 units in the third round. Those units have not come to fruition, so we're incentivizing those. So we're doing 2 things. We're increasing the funding levels, so if you want to develop one of those units, the city will fund that out of their affordable housing fund. So they will increase the funding limits to $25,000 for a moderate income unit, $40,000 for a low income unit, and $70,000 for a very low income unit. And then finally, the city will work with its administrative agent to market those accessory apartment program in a more vigorous manner.
Are those required to remain that way forever, or is there a lifespan, like a 30-year?
There is a cap, oh, I'm sorry, so the accessory apartment program are a little different than the regular inclusionary zoning. So for instance, the subdivision that was required to provide 2 units and provided those on Lafayette Street, they're deed restricted for a 30-year period. These accessory apartments are only deed restricted for 10. So they're more attractive to developers, so there's a better chance of them coming online.
And does that mean if somebody has a house that's in an area that's only zoned single-family, they can put, for instance, a garage apartment in and not need variance if they're going to be, variance relief if they're going to be providing this?
They have to meet certain criteria, but that potential exists.
Okay.
Okay? All right, so our inclusionary projects will address 3 affordable housing rental units. The Di Donato project, the two affordable family rental units were provided on Lafayette Street. They have been deed restricted, and they are currently in the process of being affirmatively marketed. Okay? There was a Yacht Harbor Marine project that was approved by the zoning board. I don't think the planning board approved that one. They approved that. It was approved as an inclusionary project with 1 off-site unit that was required to be developed. That unit has not been established or even proposed yet, and that development is not really coming out of the ground. They started work, but it's just sitting there fallow. But that's in our plan, and if that development is ever approved or constructed, the unit is required before any COs can be issued.
Is that where John Fleming's office used to be?
Yes.
Next to that? Okay.
Yep. And then we're claiming 3 third-round bonus credits that we're allowed to claim when we have rental units that meet specific requirements. Next is addressing the 4th-round obligation. This is our 2025 to 2035 period. We have an obligation of 48. We prepared a vacant land analysis, which is in the appendix of this document, and there is no RDP for the city to address for the 4th round, just a 4th round unmet need of 48. So we have to address the combined prior round, 3rd round, and 4th round unmet need of 306. So this is considered our combined unmet need. So in our plan, and if you recall, during our last reexamination of the master plan, we encouraged the Cape May Housing Authority to come and consult with the city and try and come up with a plan to improve the housing authority's units and address Cape May's housing authority, address Cape May City's obligation to provide affordable housing. Now, those things don't normally coincide because the housing authority operates on a little different program than meeting the state's affordable housing obligations. So that powwow between us has facilitated talks between city government and the Housing Authority, and those talks are ongoing. There has been mention of possible gut rehabilitation of those units, that they have 85 existing units. If you provide gut rehabilitation in your plan, they are considered new units as far as your count. The state has accounting requirements for all of these units. These terms are very specific. They mean a lot to me. They're probably overwhelming to you. But when I say unmet need and gut rehabs, and they mean things to the state. So the important part is there are ongoing negotiations. Because of the strict deadlines that the state imposed on towns complying with our new affordable housing requirements, we have not been able, the city has not been able to finalize a plan with the Housing Authority. So they are in our plan. We recognize that we want to work with them and come up with, affordable housing units with them, but the agreement has not been reached. But those units will be used to fill any existing gap in its third round RDP of 12, and with a balance going towards the city's combined unmet need for the other rounds. So those would be amazing to, get those units into this plan. It's something the city is working with, and we would use Affordable Housing Trust Fund monies to help fund any agreed-upon project, and also utilize redevelopment, if necessary, to address the redevelopment requirements as part of the plan. We also have the accessory apartment program. So any accessory apartment units created via the city's accessory apartment program beyond the 6 accessory apartments needed to satisfy our third round RDP will be put towards the city's remaining combined unmet need. We also are relying on our mandatory set-aside ordinance. This is already in our zoning ordinance. It was used as part of the third round compliance. So we have a citywide inclusionary zoning ordinance. All residential developments of 5 or more units have to have inclusionary units. We also provide a density bonus. So if you're doing inclusionary development, you're allowed to do that at a density higher than the normal zoning. And it's made to incentivize developers to do inclusionary developments.
20 and 40?
Yes. If they meet certain, there are on-site and off-site requirements, but it's 20 and 40, I believe, is correct. The required set-asides were set originally at 15% for rental projects and 20% for sale projects. We're going to up those numbers to 20 and 20. So it'll be 20% across the board for both rental and for sale projects. Okay, so those are the big highlights. There are no huge departures from our existing plan type. We've increased the numbers, we've incentivized certain things, and our biggest change, I believe, is working with the Housing Authority to try and come up with an agreeable project that works for both the city and the Housing Authority.
And we have till 2035 to do that?
2035, correct.
What happens if it doesn't happen by then?
Well, the numbers move forward. As you can see, some of our numbers in the last round weren't met, and they kind of get pushed into the unmet need. So that unmet need number that keeps moving forward, creeps along. But remember, our plan has to provide a realistic opportunity to provide affordable housing. So it's not going to say all these units are going to come to fruition ever, but the opportunity was always there.
Craig, how much money is in our affordable house or trust fund? Any idea?
I just got that number from the city, and it's over $2 million, and I don't remember the exact number.
Now, is that
I could
COA
fi-
funds? Is that the COA funds where that goes
Yes,
to?
yes. So that's something, so you're speaking about the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. That's something that the planning board really doesn't consider, the governing body does, and I have prepared a spending plan that is consistent with this plan that the governing body will adopt probably at their next meeting, and I will present that to them. But the funds have to be allocated. So like when I talked about subsidizing those accessory apartments and bumping those numbers up, we have to account for that as part, in our bank. We're allowed to provide a set-aside in there. 20% of those funds are allowed to be used for me to prepare a plan, for our attorney to, review things. If we're sued by a developer, it's allowed, we're allowed to use those funds for authorized reasons as part of our fund to address affordable housing. I think I answered your
Yeah, you're
question,
right,
right?
Actually,
Okay,
I was
but that's more of a, the funds have to be set aside to allocate for the mechanisms in our plan. They are, and that will be addressed by city council.
And I know some of the funds that Ocean City sends their funds to the state,
You're allowed to do that,
but we don't. We keep it in-house.
correct?
Correct, okay.
Okay, so there are the highlights of the plan. I'm happy to answer any questions with regards to that. After there's any questions, I would ask that the planning board adopt the fair share and the housing element and fair share plan as an element of the master plan. And I believe the language that the board would be adopting this under is, amongst the other things, the planning board has determined that the attached fourth-round housing element and fair share plan is consistent with the goals and objectives of the city's current master plan, and the adoption of the implementation of the fourth-round housing element and fair share plan is in the public interest and protects public health and safety and promotes the general welfare.
This took a lot of work.
I can't wait till this is over.
Just to answer Mr. Jones from your email, the COA fund balance is 2.7 million.
Okay.
I just want to make a comment. Craig, you've taken what to me was a complicated subject, and now I understand it between the way that you presented it and this document, too. A lot of incredible data in here.
The terminology and accounting methodology that the state requires is almost counterintuitive to if you're using common sense. And that's like, when you see that unmet need stuff and the numbers are getting pushed forward, and you see these huge numbers, you're like, oh my God, we're gonna have 313 or 300 and some units in affordable units in town. No, we have to provide the opportunity to provide that. Once you kind of simplify that, it takes the terror, fear of this. In my opinion, I don't think Cape May has ever looked at affordable housing as the boogeyman, and a lot of other towns do. I think it's necessary. I think the town recognizes that, those are employees and support a lot of the businesses in town. I think Cape May has always been agreeable to trying to provide affordable housing within the city. And that's always, for the last 3 rounds that I've worked on these plans for the city, that has always been how I think the governing bodies and planning boards have treated this. So,
And we have to realize, it's not one project that's gonna take care of this. It's piecemeal.
That's just going back to the COA fund, $2.7 million sounds like a lot of money, obviously, but if you hand that to somebody and say, go fix the affordability problem in the city of Cape May, it's
It
2
goes really
houses
fast.
maybe, or
It goes really
maybe
fast.
3, yeah.
Craig, do I understand that we're in conversation with the Housing Authority at this time?
Yes.
Is there a committee for that, or does council?
Yeah.
And-
So it's
and
actively
city-
engaged.
And city management,
Yeah,
along
there's
with,
city there's a consulting team that's working with the Housing Authority to try and come up with a palatable.
Isn't part of the issue the fact that the city doesn't own that? The authority does, so.
The Housing Authority owns the lots.
So They're like any other developer. They're
Yeah.
treated like any other developer.
In some respects,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's also the Fed's involved in that too, right?
Right, so the funding sources are where we kind of don't coincide with, like, because they can get funding sources for doing certain things that don't necessarily help us. So like when I mentioned gut rehab, that terminology is state terminology. If they do gut rehab of 85 units, we get credit for 85 brand-new units. That's huge, you know. So,
I just wanted to compliment Mr. Hurlis's report and just tell you great job and really, like everyone else has said here, trying to synthesize a very complex topic and trying to condense it into, a palatable way that I think people can manage. So, good job.
thank you all. So,
Anybody care to make a motion to adopt this document?
I will make the motion to adopt the document as put forth by Mr. Hurlis.
Second. Excuse me, second.
Okay, Deputy Mayor McDade motions, Mr. Lundholm seconds. Mr. Gorgon?
Yes.
Mayor Mullick?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor McDade?
Yes.
Mrs. Reed?
Yes.
Mr. Crowley?
Yes.
Mr. Lundholm?
Yes.
Mr. Riggs?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Bezare?
Yes.
Thank you.
then we do the
So,
resolution.
Resolution, yes. So now we need a motion to adopt the resolution adopting this document.
I make a motion.
Second?
Deputy Mayor McDade motions.
No.
Oh, is that
Mrs.
Mrs.
Reed.
Reed? I'm sorry, my apologies. Mrs. Reed motions, Mr. Riggs seconds. Mr. Gorgon?
Yes.
Mayor Mullick?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor McDade?
Yes.
Mrs. Reed?
Yes.
Mr. Crowley?
Yes.
Mr. Lundholm?
Yes.
Mr. Riggs?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Bezare?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, you want to go through the municipal public access plan?
Sure. The Municipal Public Access Plan, or the MPAP, is a plan that we submitted to the state. Let me just back up. In general, just so anyone watching, the Municipal Public Access Plan provides for public access throughout the municipality on any tidal waterway. So it verifies that you have beach access, appropriate access to Cape Island Creek. It doesn't necessarily have to be physical, it could be visual, but, so all of the tidal waterways that are flowed, they don't necessarily have to be accessed. They can be, closed for safety reasons, closed for environmental protection reasons, but in general, there has to be access to these waterways. Cape May really does not have a public access plan. Problem. All of your beachfront, all of your street ends, intersections with Beach Avenue pretty much have a beach access. We're not one of those towns where there are issues. Anyway, the New Jersey DEP requires these beach access plans and ties New Jersey DE permitting, both municipal and public. It ties grant funding to the establishment of these plans. So they require that we provide these plans. It's a state template that we have to do it in this exact format that they want. And this plan has been vetted by the New Jersey DEP, approved for our adoption, and they require that we incorporate this plan into our conservation element of our master plan as part of the process. So I'm making the recommendation that it is consistent with our master plan and that we do incorporate this as part of our conservation element, part of that. So,
Madison Avenue Pond in here?
Madison Avenue Pond. No, I don't believe it is.
Not a beach, not a beach.
It's not,
Not a beach.
I said
It's
tidal,
not titled.
I said tidally flowed. I'm pretty sure I used that language.
Okay.
So do we have to accept the plan?
So I would make the recommendation to accept the plan.
Anybody have any questions of Craig? Can I make a motion to
I'll make a motion to accept the
adopt
plan.
the city's municipal public access plan?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Mr. Jones motions, Deputy Mayor McDade seconds. Mr. Gorgon?
Yes.
Mayor Mullick?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor McDade?
Yes.
Mrs. Reed?
Yes.
Mr. Crowley?
Yes.
Mr. Lundholm?
Yes.
Mr. Riggs?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Bezier?
Yes.
Thank you.
Are these plans going to be in the city's website or available if people?
I believe they're already on.
They are already on there?
This was originally presented back in February,
All right.
as well
It's
as.
on the
to
planning
council.
board page. It's on the planning board page.
Yeah, these plans that we just adopted have a heightened noticing requirements because we are adopting changes to the master plan.
Yeah.
So they were all posted, the plans were posted with the city clerk as well as with Karen's office, available for public viewing. We had to send them copies to the county as well as adjoining, municipalities, et cetera. So,
And all of the projects, Bob, are also on.
Yeah.
the
I
city
ju- I
website.
just feel it'd be easier
Yep.
to see some of these.
Yes,
Yeah.
and they are all
drawings
posted out
and
on the city.
Can actually
yeah,
read them on
yeah.
site.
From a
rather than-
housekeeping standpoint, we need to adopt the resolution, like you just adopting this plan.
Right.
I'll make a motion to adopt the resolution.
I'll second.
Mr. Jones motions, Deputy Mayor McDade seconds. Mr. Gorgon?
Yes.
Mayor Mullick?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor McDade?
Yes.
Mrs. Reed?
Yes.
Mr. Crowley? Mr. Lundholm?
Yes.
Mr. Riggs?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Bezier?
Yes.
Thank you.
I think the last thing on my list is the master plan recommendations for implementation, swimming pools. In your package, I prepared a memo dated May 9th, 2025. I believe that City Council requested an update to the Planning Board's discussion and findings regarding swimming pool recommendations that were found in the master plan reexamination. We had talked about that at several different meetings. I believe that in here, in this report, is a summary of our findings. So I indicate the existing master plan recommendations that were included in the re-exam, which is section 3.10, which is found on the top of page 2. I indicated the current regulations for swimming pools that we discussed, and I believe that the board found that the ordinance was appropriate and that no changes are recommended to the pool code requirements at this time. The board also discussed concerns regarding the development of pools on corner lots. And we talked about corner lots and the corner lot standards and restrictions. I pointed the board towards section 525-59, which is the corner lot restrictions. And I believe the board found that these restrictions are sufficient to address the concerns that were raised, that no additional pool requirements are necessary. Corner lots require that both yards facing the streets must be treated as front yards, and therefore pools and patios connected may not be located within the setback or forward of the building face. So that's based on my notes. If that is what the board believes that they discussed and the findings that were required, I would recommend that the board endorse this memo and forward it to the city council for just their update.
Mr. Hurlis, the only thing I don't note on here is that pools are restricted, not permitted in the R4. So is that something that should be incorporated into this memo, or?
These are regulations regarding pools where they're allowed.
Yeah.
Okay, well, they're not permitted in the
So
R4.
there's no need. to-
Okay, all right, I just wanted to, sometimes explicitly stating something is always good, only because people,
Right, right.
so,
You're totally right. The R4 district does not permit swimming pools as a permitted accessory use.
If I could just make a recommendation, if we do move forward with a motion to bring it to city council, can we transmit a copy to the zoning board as well, so they're aware?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Greg, I only have one question. With regard to section 2, there's 10 feet from the principal structure. We haven't really resolved what the purpose of that is. 525-62.
Gotcha. I understand.
And when people, on one hand, it says if it's covered by a rigid cover when it's not in use, then it's permitted to be within 10 feet. Now, I don't know how you're supposed to do that when you're analyzing a site plan or a plan, because then they can put it anywhere they want, as long as they put a notation that says covered with a rigid cover when not in use. But, you know, I'm just not clear if the purpose of this thing is for fire prevention, because I've had other members say, well, they can view it as a safety thing, that you want to be able to get everyone on every part of the pool so they can pull a kid out. And that like makes sense to me logically. I mean, I'm not an engineer. But that, I still don't know what the purpose of that is. I'm not saying it has no purpose, but it may have more than one purpose, and we keep
I
getting caught up in
I
it.
don't really remember where it came
So I remember Arnold Pittman
from. Do you remember?
on
all
the
that?
zoning board. So this came from as a recommendation from the zoning board to the planning board. It originated with a former chairman, Arnold Pittman, who was a firefighter and recommended this as a safety measure. And I'm going off my memory, but I believe that it was to facilitate the ability for a firefighter to put a ladder, because people were putting pools right up against the back of the house, and there was no ability to put a ladder up to the second story access from the back. So this was intended to provide 10 feet to allow a firefighter or emergency personnel to access the rear of a house. That's how it originated. Now, it has other benefits, and I think they've been discussed at zoning board members, like this prevents people from jumping off of their balcony into the pool, like, you know, so there are other things that go along with it, but. Maybe. Yeah, but, yeah, exactly, I mean, with a running start. With a running start, you could probably make it, but I'm not advocating that. But that's.
A firefighter's gonna put a ladder on a rigid cover of a pool, that doesn't sound like sound firefighting technique to me.
I'm just telling you, that's how it originated, that's how it got to the planning board, and based on my memory.
Well, I'm just saying that section right there, I mean, this is the planning board, not the zoning board, so we see it a lot more in the zoning board. But I've had 4 or 5 of these, and we get in this long discussion about where the windows are, whether it's a porch or a balcony, and then you end up saying exactly what you just said now, and then another member says, well, yeah, what about, you know, safety rescue, and there should be space all around. And I would just like to not have that conversation, I'd just like to know a statement of purpose, or
So
we're eliminating or
taking the hard cover off solves that?
Oh, no, what I'm saying is having that hardcover language in there makes it seem like the reason is for the firefighting.
But it doesn't it may not necessarily be for that reason.
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
Yeah,
So
I see where
don't know what to do
Rich
with
is
that.
going. Having been on zoning, you hear these discussions all the
Oh,
time.
that's right, you
Yeah.
were there back-
Yeah,
back-
absolutely.
that's right.
I was there for the one with the jumping off application.
Yeah, so I
Yeah.
just- If I were to make a recommendation, I'd just like some clarification for that.
Yeah, so I was asked just to prepare an update of what was discussed before. So if this wants to be a new discussion item before the planning board, we can certainly do that and make any recommended changes, but this document was prepared just to update where the planning board was in reviewing these. If we think that there needs to be further review or discussion on it, particularly with that,
Can we just send it saying that there may need to be clarification as the purpose and intent of section 8?
We can, because I can envision a discussion by council
That would
on,
make me
on this,
okay?
If it was,
in my
I feel
opinion.
My entire
Yeah,
life, and it was about.
yeah,
that, so-
yeah, yeah. Right.
if it was solely based on a ladder, then what difference does it make if it's above ground or below ground pool, in-ground pool?
I
That-
don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah,
either.
it does, I mean, I remember that when all that went
Yeah.
down with the pools and the 10 feet and the ladders and all that stuff, but
Right.
I don't know why it says above, why would it matter if it's above ground or not? It's still in the way of raising, footing the ladder.
I'm not prepared to provide analysis on how that got to be the way it was. Sorry.
We can send it to council and.
Yeah, I'll
see
just
what
make a
the
recommendation with
Recommendation is
Rich's
because-
comment.
Yeah.
Because of the ability to ladder a building.
Yep.
Right.
So Mr. King will prepare a resolution for that? Is that the understanding, that there'll be a resolution, and then we'll send it up to council that way?
Okay.
Is that what everybody wants?
Right.
Is that what you want? Yes?
I'll make a motion
Okay.
that this is sent to council with a copy to the zoning board,
Right.
The resolution.
with the comment asking for clarification as stated by Mr. King.
Second.
Mr. Riggs motions, Mr. Lundholm seconds. Mr. Gorgone?
Yes.
Mayor Mullick?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor McDade?
Yes.
Mrs. Reed?
Yes.
Mr. Crowley?
Yes.
Mr. Lundholm?
Yes.
Mr. Riggs?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Bazare?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item is payment of bills. Motion to pay the bills.
I make a motion to pay the bills.
I'll second.
Thanks, Bob.
Thank you. Mrs. Reed motions, Mr. Gorgone seconds. Mr. Gorgone?
Yes.
Mayor Mullick?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor McDade?
Yes.
Mrs. Reed?
Yes.
Mr. Crowley?
Yes.
Mr. Lundholm?
Yes.
Mr. Riggs?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Bazare?
Yes.
Thank you.
Anything else for the board? Final motion?
Make the motion.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you, everyone.
Okay. I think it was